Who wants to get into internal auditing, you're somebody who wants to learn more about internal auditing, you're someone who's working with an ISO management system, it could be an ISO 9001 management system, it could be an ISO 45001 safety management system, it could be ISO 27001 management system, the new information security standard that's exploding all over the world that the customers are asking you to adopt if you've got their customer information, or you could be working with a beautiful environmental sustainability management system under ISO 14001. They all talk about internal auditing, and today in the Best Practice TV very first webinar for 2019, we're talking about the team approach and how to use internal audits. My name's Kobe Simmet. Thanks for joining us. I'm the CEO here at Best Practice, and I love doing these webinars. I love spending time with you guys, so welcome aboard. We've got a huge crowd today. We've got over 200 people registered live for this webinar, so I look forward to everybody joining us when you get the opportunity. So a couple of little technical things that we're going to resolve. It looks like we've got a streaming issue. If it gets a little bit choppy, if you have some issues, don't be scared to hit pause and come back to it if you have any issues. But we will have a recording for this available after the event. So if during this presentation today you think, oh my gosh, I want somebody, one of my friends, colleagues, work colleagues, to hear about this, then you can actually share the recording. So we'll have the link available, the link that you've got, you can come back to and watch this webinar at any point in time. So a couple of little tips for you guys as you're watching. Keep a note of the time. So if I say something in particular that you think is very important, just make a note of the time and you can come back to the recording, and at about that time, you'll hear me say it again and again. And also, you can do a screenshot. So if you're watching on a mobile device, an iPad, an iPhone, a Samsung, whatever your mobile device is, or a desktop, if you wanted to keep screenshots, you can hit the screenshot button. So get yourself set up to do screenshots. And as we go through some of the slides today, you can do that. So once again, I'm Kobe. I realise and I appreciate a bunch of you know me already. So hello. So g'day Ryan. So g'day B Smith. I'm going to say Bill, Bob, but hello. And I'm going to, yes, I'll get to those questions. So for those of you that are watching on YouTube and you have the ability to comment because you've got a Gmail address and you've logged in via your Gmail account, you can comment beside the video on YouTube. Now, for those of you that aren't able to comment, the best place to comment today is to come in via our Facebook page. So look for Best Practice on Facebook, and I've got two amazing assistants out in the office just outside our studio today who are available to grab your comments. I've also got my iPhones in my back pocket, and in theory that should buzz when you guys make a comment on our Facebook page. So you can comment or send us a direct message to Best Practice. You could try and find me on LinkedIn. If you can find me on LinkedIn, at Kobe Simmet. So there's my name there. At Kobe Simmet is my handle on LinkedIn. Send me a direct message on LinkedIn. So the best way and the most success for you in terms of getting great value out of this webinar is to ask questions. I'm here to answer your questions. I am live. These webinars are live monthly, and I really love being able to answer questions and help you guys and clear blockages. So I'm going to go through the things that I think are important in this webinar today, but I really want to be able to help you guys. That's what I'm really passionate about. Here at Best Practice, we've got an amazing team, and that amazing team is here for organisations who are inspired to be constantly improving, looking for opportunities for improvement, scaling businesses, and achieving the successes and goals and outcomes that your organisations are capable of unleashing your potential. It's what we're really passionate about. I guess that's why we call ourselves Best Practice. We're on a journey ourselves, we're on an improvement journey ourselves, and I think the topic today is one that I'm very passionate about because it really is, it's probably the secret to my success, if you like. The opportunities that have come from this particular career path have been absolutely amazing. So, g'day Grant from Tassie. How is the weather down in Tassie today? I hope you guys are getting some warm weather and enjoying a little bit of summertime before it gets cold again. But hello from Tassie. So, g'day to Grant. So, hey, anybody else, if you're watching, just let me know where you're watching from. I love seeing all the different places around the world that people watch from. So, yeah, if you can comment beside or comment on our Facebook page, let me know where you're watching from, and then that'll give you an opportunity. If you've got any questions, you can post some questions there. Hello, Masoud. Sorry, I apologise for my pronunciation. So hello to everybody. Comment beside there. That's a great place to let me know. Now, the other thing I just want to quickly point out for you is the best practice website, bestpracticecertification.com.au. If you can open two browser windows, if you like, you can go to the live chat feature there at Best Practice, and you can ask a comment. Comments there. Yes, I agree, Grant. Absolutely. Tasmania is always beautiful. So we've just popped a link into the comment section. Jack is helping me in the studio today. Thank you very much to Jack. He puts up with me, puts up with everything that I've got going on and 1,000 things. He does an amazing job. And it really is, for you guys, Jack is the guy that actually makes this work and makes it amazing. So a huge shout out to Jack. He and I have been working really hard for the last couple of years together, and 2019 is only shaping up to be that much busier. So Jack's ready for it. So live chat on the Best Practice website. If you can't use any other feature, ask questions, let us know. Rigdon, Caitlin and Vanessa are all out in the office today monitoring the live chat and Facebook and all those other platforms. So there shouldn't be any barriers to asking a question. I really want to help you guys today. Just a quick covering of what's here on this slide behind me. Sorry, Jack, if you wouldn't mind going back one. My apologies. Just to cover quickly, Best Practice is a certification company. A lot of what we do here, one of the largest parts of our revenue stream is certification. We've got a huge team of amazing best practice assessors out assessing best practice in thousands of businesses around the world on a day-to-day basis. That's one of the biggest things that we do. We help also with training, and what you can see behind me is a screenshot on an iPad right there of our training academy. So if you didn't know that we did online training courses, a lot of this content in huge amount of detail is available to purchase on our training store. And then obviously we've got some amazing platforms. Now, I'm really inspired by what we've got planned on Instagram for the next couple of weeks. So shout out to Vanessa for what she's doing on Instagram. We've got some great posts and some really amazing pictures planned. So if you are an Instagram user, or if you haven't tried Instagram yet, finding Best Practice TV on Instagram and checking out some of those posts. Lots more happening, YouTube, Facebook, all the rest. As always here at Best Practice, all of those platforms, getting great content on a day-to-day basis. Now, like everybody, I love talking about myself, so I'm just going to have a quick cover off for you guys. So some of you know the background of my career. So we'll just jump on to the next slide. So I was only thinking about it. We were saying, we had this slide, Jack prepared it for me and we were going to talk about it, and it said 16. I was doing compliance assessment. So I was actually an environmental protection officer. I was doing environmental compliance inspections and assessments and sustainability reviews of business, and looking at how businesses could improve their environmental performance. So looking for opportunities for improvement for the benefit of the environment. That was the early part of my career, and I got to go and meet lots of amazing businesses. I was a compliance officer, so I was often talking to the business owner. And I guess I was a little bit sad in some respects because I was more of a compliance person, talking to people who were doing the wrong thing, but I did find that people didn't know how to do the right thing. And so I did a pivot in my career 17 years ago into the business improvement space from compliance. And that's where, that's really where the last 17 years have been spent. I've been unemployed since 2004. So it was 2004 that we started this team, and we're a team of 32 today with thousands of great customers that we're working with that we help on a day-to-day basis. So it's through that time, thanks Jack, that we've been able to go through and start to. Sorry, was there anything else on that previous slide that we missed? Yes, there was. There it is. So it really, I guess. Why do we do internal audits? I guess, I started to realize, and we can help with internal auditing, but today I'm teaching you how to do it. What we started to identify was that two things happen. There's these reasons for, conformance. So I was being sent out to do audits to check on people. But then I started to see that actually the benefits, a lot of what comes from the internal auditing practice or even an external auditing practice is that people learn. And so the assessor, if you like, and we call you best practice assessors, I want you to use that term. Don't use audit, use best practice assessors. Call yourselves a best practice assessor, and you're doing an internal best practice assessment. That's really the term we want to be using, because you're looking for opportunities for improvement, you're looking at better risk management, better controls, better confidence, like giving your team improved systems and processes so they have more confidence that they're doing the right thing, and your team will feel good. You will have upside. It's about where is the upside in this environment? What's the 5-star version of this situation. What does it look like? It doesn't look great like right now. We're doing a bit of an investigation. We're looking and doing our due diligence, and then we're seeing, okay, what's the upside look like? And so really taking that positive approach is really important, and we want to be going through that process. So today, talking about internal audits, we're going to see that. We're going to see that there's as much of a checking verification type exercise from these little internal best practice assessments as there is for looking at, okay, let's work as a team to work out what the upside looks like. And literally in the minutes before I came running into the studio to present this webinar, I have my finance manager and my systems manager saying we've been doing a bit of a review, a best practice review. We found a much better way to do things. And I'm like, yes, go ahead. So, that's props to Kelly and Anna out there in the office who are working on improving our system. I can see them behind the camera. They're in my eyesight right now. They're doing a great job looking at how we can improve best practice. And that's going to be a small step forward and making lots of small steps every day. So in this webinar today, quick summary. I'm going to cover 3 steps to begin your internal audits. Let's call them internal best practice assessments. I'm going to cover 4 key concepts for doing those assessments. I'm going to have 4 auditor tips, 3 things to help, and what to remember. And that's just my quick summary. It's a new thing here, do a bit of an agenda, get me to stick to the time, and Jack's trying to corral me and keep me organised, so we'll see how that goes. Thanks, Jack. Let's get into it. Okay. So internal audits, let's use the terminology, why are they mandatory in ISO? So ISO systems, so we've got ISO 9001 as a quality management system, ISO 9001 as quality, ISO 14001 as environment, ISO 45001 from a safety perspective, ISO 27001, that's information security. There are other standards like asset management, those sorts of things. I guess we can start to ask the question, well, why have we written in something like an internal audit? And really at a very high level, it's to verify, are we doing what we said we would do? So things like boards, so boards of directors of organisations, have asked for processes to be put in place so they can get some verification that the business is following its plan, if that makes sense. But from my perspective, I think it's good to have a moment in time where we stop and we actually look at what we're doing. So, if you're going to the gym and you've got a weight loss goal, well then how do we street and we see a speed sign with the speed limit and we look down at our dashboard and we check how we're traveling. How fast are we going? Are we doing the speed limit? So it's part of that cycle of plan, do, check and act, that we can go through that cycle and we can say, we're planning, let's see how we go, let's go and do it. And it's the internal audit or internal best practice assessment that forms that function of how we're tracking. Now, what I've found, that's why I'm so passionate about this particular topic, is that it's not a one-person exercise. It's not sitting at your desk and checking on yourself. It's a team approach. It's, to achieve the intended outcome of this exercise, it's about 2 people or more working together and talking about how things are running. Are there any opportunities for improvement? And it's as much a conversation. It's not a test. It's about looking for the opportunities for improvement and having a peer do a peer review type process. And I was in a great meeting with a client yesterday about what we're talking about and doing a bit of a pitch. I was actually doing a sales pitch and we're talking about peer reviews and a peer assessment. And so we're talking about how could we have 2 very experienced project managers talking to each other and actually giving each other advice and guidance on improvement of the organisation. Now, the benefit to a leadership team is that's all about delegate and elevate and delegate and elevate. And team members holding each other accountable for great performance and following the systems and processes. So not you as the systems manager or internal assessor holding people accountable, but as we increase the people that are involved in these little assessments or peer reviews, that they can hold each other accountable and we can play, like genuinely and legitimately play as a team. So this particular topic that we're talking about today, it's not just for you guys. It's not just the quality coordinator, the quality manager, the general manager, the person that's delegated with the concept of internal audits. I would strongly encourage you to please start to consider that there are opportunities for peers to review each other and follow these principles. And I'm going to talk about the 20-20-20 rule further into the presentation, where it's just 20 minutes. So just to cover off mandatory, so IAF here who supervise, the guidelines and standards around delivery of the ISO programs over here. So IAF give guidelines around time and duration, and they start to mandate some of the criteria, if you like, and then ISO have obviously included the concept of internal reviews or internal assessments into the ISO standards. I don't want you to get too bogged down in that. We can get analysis paralysis. We can have too many guidelines. I have found in my career through doing this process, particularly with my legal background, that when we inspire people through showing them the positive side, the positive benefits, then we're going to get greater buy-in. We're going to get a greater opportunity to have people on board to look at the positive upside. If we're just saying you must do this, you have to follow the guideline, it's mandatory, then people are going to begrudgingly participate. And when we have people begrudging being part of the process, we're never going to see those positive upsides, and they're just going to be like, are we done yet? I'm not interested, I don't want to be part of this. So showing people the positive upside, then letting them choose to participate. So it's people like us do things like this. People like us who are passionate about improvement and are passionate about helping the business to improve, the tribe will gather around you. And the people that are just the obstructionists and the negative people, then they're going to maybe step aside. They might even leave your organisation, work in other organisations. And part of just building your own culture, so starting to think about people like us do things like this. We do peer reviews, we hold each other accountable, and we work together to identify and implement new initiatives that give the business upside, that give the business scale, growth, future-proof, sustainability, all those sorts of things. Okay, so before I go too big picture, let's get down into the detail. Let's get down into the dirt. Let's talk about 3 steps to start internal audits for beginners. Thanks, Jack. Okay, obviously, the first thing to do is make a plan. Now, this is going to sound a bit crazy, but making a plan in your first opportunity, your first try, is never going to be polished and 5-star and the best. And the real thing to remember here is perfect practice makes perfect. So the more often that you do little tiny plans, half a page, handwritten notes, the better you're going to get at this, and over time you're going to have more of a routine. So like going to the gym, maybe, if any of you have ever worked with a personal trainer, or you've worked with a coach or a guide, or, when you were small, a soccer team or a netball team, or something that you did, where somebody, school teacher, checking in regularly is going to give you the opportunity to have small increments of improvement, not one big leap to what amazing looks like. We want to do small things. So often letting someone start and getting it wrong gives them confidence to start, and then they can say, well, what can I do to improve, rather than saying it must look like this and it must be amazing. So I want to give you guys confidence to just start by chatting with people and planning and saying, okay, well, who would be the key people that I might go and talk to? Okay, how do we make that decision? Sorry, just go back 1 minute for me. So divide up the business into processes. And when I say dividing up the business into processes, keep it really high level and really simple. Marketing, sales, finance, production operations, warehouse, the big chunky key parts of the business. And if that's a bit of a struggle for you to understand, go chat to the big boss at the business and say, how would you divide this business if you were to divide it into 5 parts? And why did I say 5 parts? Because there's 5 parts to my hand, and it's really simple to go, are there 5 parts of the business, and if there was, what would they be? Marketing, sales, or sales marketing together, finance, operations, whatever that might be, because we form a group, an organization of people to deliver amazing outcomes for our customers, for our stakeholders, for our interested parties. And so I think starting with 5 is a really good way to do that. And because we don't need notes, we don't need a computer, we don't need a PC, a laptop, we can just go, right, what are the 5 parts of the business? So planning, see if you can identify 5 parts and just go, right, what are they? In here at Best Practice, they are the marketing team, the sales team, the finance team, the operations team, and PCC. We call it People, Culture, Capability, which is our HR department. So we got 5 parts to Best Practice. That's how we do it here at Best Practice. Really simple. Okay, so then once we get to a part of the business, could be marketing, could be sales, could be finance, could be operations. We divide our audit when we start to think about, maybe spending some time with someone. So an audit or little tiny best practice assessment is about spending time with someone. That's the critical point. It's a foundation. If we're by ourselves, it's a self-assessment. We want to divide it into 3 parts. We want to do sit down and prepare, which we call here a desktop assessment. We want to do a field assessment where we go for a wander, either in the office or out into the business or to another site or a location. We call that the field assessment. And then the third part is we want to sit back and we want to sort of, ponder what we found and where is the upside. So we really want to start with the end in mind. Why are we doing this? Are we doing what we said we would do? And we're looking for opportunities for improvement. And so we want to think about, when we talk about review results, that's the part where we're deciding how we're going to feed the opportunities for improvement that we've identified into an approval process, into management review or into an improvement register or up to our manager. So we can say, look, we found a few things. We found a few things where we're not really doing what we said we would do. We're finding a few things where we've got issues with a particular service and we're getting lots of customer complaints. Then we can sort of break that out and we can say, well, we want to work at how, say to your manager, I'm going to go and do a peer review. I'm going to spend some time with someone. What does it look like? What does success look like when I report back to you? Okay, thank you, Jack. So step 3, as we start to review our results and feed them into a type of register or management review, this is this conversation. This is about saying, well, is it dropping into a risk register? Is it dropping into opportunities for improvement register, non-conformance register? Or is it just going to be an email back to my manager? An email back to your manager is perfectly okay. I found a few things that I think we need to improve on. I found a few things that I'm worried about. They're risky. And you know what? That team, a couple of things I talked to them about, that's amazing. Those are their strengths. And so you could say these are the things they did well, these are the things that they could improve, and these are the things we should be worried about. So maybe that's 3 ways to categorize, and I'll come back to that later on. But I don't want you to, in the first instance, remember, this is for beginners. This is not the masterclass on internal audits. You want to do the masterclass, we've got a beautiful course online. It's got lots of great videos. It's really in-depth. This is for beginners, this stuff. You want to get the advanced techniques and skills, go and check out our full 5-star, the Duck's Guts best practice internal auditors course on our training academy. But let's just keep it simple. Let's just simply say, you know what, it's really easy for me to just send an email. This is where I went, this is what I did, this is who I talked to, here's some opportunities for improvement, this is what they were really good at, this is the stuff I'm worried about. Keep it simple. Excellent. Thanks, Jack. So 4 key concepts. The first concept is the feedback loop. So starting with the end in mind. Now, one of probably the saddest parts of my career is that I have done a lot of external auditing. I've been the ISO 9001 external assessor. I now have a huge team that go and do that on my behalf here at Best Practice. And probably the saddest part is I've seen organizations just scramble to do internal audits so they could show me. They say, look, we've done 20 internal audits. Here's the paperwork. Like they did it for me. And I'm like, no, we're missing the concept of internal audits, verifying that we're doing what we said we would do. We're following our process, identifying opportunities for improvement. Maybe the process we're trying to follow is wrong and needs to be updated, or maybe the people that working for our team are off the reservation. They're not following our process. They're working unsafely, unsatisfactorily. They're not doing what the customer has ordered and paid for. So the feedback loop is really important. And so I literally can say that 50% over my 20-year career, 50% of the internal audits, the internal assessments, and the work that I've seen done on management systems was literally the thinking was, I'm doing it for Kobe, I'm going to show Kobe, and I'm going to give them the words of affirmation. I'm say, that's amazing, but it's not for me. It's for you to use and follow. It's your playbook. It's your recipe book. It's your system. It's your process. It's your organization. And I want you to do those things for your customer. Focus on your customer. Focus on your stakeholders, your interested parties, not me. So don't do internal audits for your auditor, your external auditor. Don't write your management system for your external auditor. Write your management system. Define your management system. Do what you do every day for your customer. Focus on an amazing service for your customer. Think about that customer. Think about the last customer that you spoke to. What's their name? What could you do to lift the services, lift what you're doing? Those are the opportunities for improvement that are really important. What could you do to work more safely, to have a better environmental footprint, sustainability, better information security management, better food safety, whatever the risk management program you've got, focus on them. That's your system. Hello, Hugh from the Best Practice Offices. Hello, Port Melbourne. I'm seeing some comments coming through there. So if you're watching, let me know where you're watching from. We've got the comments there on the side there of your video if you're watching on YouTube. Also, if you'd like to ask any questions, I'm going to get to questions shortly. I see one there. So I'll talk about, there's a question there about benefits of internal audit program, and I'll come to that in a second. But I want you to think about that. Really the focus of this feedback loop is thinking about what are we here to do? Where ultimately, the ultimate goal of this audit program, the main benefit is that your customer will see you improving and come back and buy more of your products and services, or tell their friends, colleagues, industry about how amazing you are. That's the objective of this exercise. To improve customer service, to work more safely, to have better environmental sustainability, that sort of stuff. We want to verify that we're following our processes, or we need to improve those processes. We want to have people learning, peer reviewing each other so they can understand how the business operates, and they too can play a role in improving the business. And obviously what I'm most passionate about, as you can see, is always look for opportunities for improvement. And then we want to say, right, what's the business's appetite to take these things that we've identified as opportunities for improvement, because they're going to improve the customer service, they're going to improve sustainability, they're going to improve the financial health of the organization. You know, improving customer service, how does that link to improving financial health? How does that help cash flow? How does that help the P&L, the profit and loss statement, the balance sheet? If you can go and start to talk to those key influences from a financial perspective, if you can understand the pain points of your leaders in the organization and what keeps them awake at night, what makes them stressed, and you can start to understand how the customer's interacting with the business, what the pain point is for the leader, then you can use this process verification as you become more confident to really lift the performance of the business and help people through the organization. Thanks, Jack. Okay, auditor tips. This is a tricky one. Remaining impartial. I have found in my career that in the circumstances where I have been quick to judge, I have found that my body language will then portray my opinion, and I will lose the confidence of the people that I'm working with and talking to. And so I've developed a concept which is essentially called sit on the fence. So it's not about passing judgment and saying that's wrong. It's about saying, why are we doing what we're doing? Are we doing it the right way? Is there a better way? And how could we improve? So as a best practice internal assessor, you're doing your internal best practice opportunity for improvement reviews or peer reviews. We're looking for opportunities for improvement. And you're not the manager, you're not the person that's going to say do that. You're not there to make suggestions for improvement. You're more there to get the mind of the other person thinking about how they can improve and then extract those things out of them. And so really there's an old saying, and I can't remember who to quote it from, but it's the solution to the problem. The solution lies in the mind with the problem. The solution's in the mind with the problem. And your questioning technique that you will build over time, how do they want it presented? How do they want it, how do we want to lay this out for them? How do we want to do this? By ensuring that everything you do is a question and not saying, why are you doing it that way? That's passing an opinion. You want to be very careful with your body language, but you really want to sit on the fence because you want to be saying, well, are we doing what we said we would do? Is that how the business has decided to do it? Are we off the reservation, or is our process not keeping, our defined process that we use to train people, guide people, induct people, teach people how the business operates, that's not up to date. So we really want to be making those judgment calls. Really simply, you might have defined processes, procedures, work instructions, parts of the business, defined ways that they want to operate. The most common finding you're going to find is that defined policies and procedures are out of date. That's going to be, I bet you, my whole life and my house and everything. And my firstborn child, that that the vast majority of findings you'll have is that the systems and processes of the business can't keep up. And that's because we have decided to have systems and processes, policies and procedures to give us guidance that are hard to update. It's hard. It's really hard to keep lots of documents up to date. It just is. And you know what? People don't read them. So we really want to be thinking from an opportunity for improvement perspective, what's the best way to have information presented so that our team can follow it to deliver amazing service to our customer. And it could be video. That's why we do so many videos here at Best Practice. But that's a whole nother webinar, the documents webinar, and how to communicate and effective communication to our team. So as we start to prioritize the framework, I think the most important thing to do is look at the promises the organization is making to its customers or its stakeholders. What's the promise? What are the promises? What are the top 10 promises that you make as an organization to your customers, the people that give you money to operate? Even not-for-profits, they grants and funding and that sort of stuff. So it's applicable to everybody watching here in organizations. So what are the promises that you're making as an organization? What are the promises you're making from a safety perspective? What are the promises you're making from an environment perspective? And we want to verify that we've got guidance and advice for our team so that we can scale and we can actually continue to deliver those things. So prioritizing that, put yourself in the shoes of the stakeholder. And I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly as one of the key principles and maybe something that I've learned. But that's how we prioritize. So don't go looking at, what's the process to update documents unless it's really important. Just think, okay, so, Google reviews, Yelp reviews, all the different reviews that we're getting now that we're seeing online of businesses, your Google 5-star review for your Google page, for your organization. What do we need to do? What's the process we need to follow to get that customer to give us a 5-star review and then tell 10 more people about us? What's the process we need to follow for our staff to say we've got 5-star safety, that I feel safe, it's not bureaucratic, and it's something I can do to keep myself safe in this organization. Same for environment, same for any risk, if that makes sense. So that's how we prioritize. Describe the mismatch, and using facts, not judgment, is the third tip that I've got for you. The mismatch, not, it's my opinion, that's not the way I like it. So that when we start to provide judgment, we start to have a clash of culture. So it's a small part that this internal audit program or little best practice assessment program plays in evolving the culture of your organization. People like us do things like this is a really great statement. And so if we start to provide judgment, then we're commentating on our worldly view of the culture. And we've really got to make a judgment call about whether we actually fit ourselves with the organization, or maybe we're the outlier. Are we the middle or the outlier? So we've got to be very careful with that opinion. I work with thousands of organizations. Every single culture is different. I'm not part of that team. So I can't be going in and saying, well, I don't do it that way. It's not my organization. I'm here to be like a camera. The camera never lies. It's the picture is 1,000 words. And so we want to be saying, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to take a picture, and I'm going to say there was a mismatch. I'm not seeing congruency between what the business says it's going to do and what they're actually doing, and then passing it back to the people that are the empowered leading managers to manage risk. If they want your advice, they will ask. And that's probably the lesson between the lines here is I've been the person that's given way too much advice without permission, and people end up like, I don't want to talk to that guy because he just gives us advice and tells us what to do. That's not my role. My role is to participate in helping to make the picture more clear around what the opportunities for improvement are. Okay, tip number 4, put yourself in the shoes of the stakeholder. I started to touch on this. I'll go into an organization, I'll say, if I was a customer, I love most of the organizations that I work with, in fact all of them, I find them absolutely fascinating. I really love understanding how a business operates, and then I can bring in great ideas from different industries. I can put them in the back of my mind and I can ask questions to lead them to those opportunities for improvement. But what I do, I've only just realized this in the last couple of years, it's my natural talent, is like, right, I really want to buy from this organization and I would really like to see it improve. And so I'll put myself in the shoes of a customer. I'll say, or a stakeholder or a legislative person or a staff member, and I'll start to say, okay, well, what would I like to see? And then that'll inform how I'll go and look at a process. So I'll go in from a customer perspective. How would the customer feel if they saw that we were doing it this way? Is this going to give the customer what they want? We've got to balance that with, businesses need to be profitable and take commercial risk and all those sorts of things. So, the more that you're peer reviewing and spending time with each other, then the more you're going to have that. Okay, let me just, hello from Atlanta. Welcome. So we've got lovely, fantastic. We've got some people in from the US today. Okay, what questions have we got just quickly? I think I've covered the benefits. B. Smith. So let me know if I haven't covered the benefits of the internal audit program. If you want me to cover more, I can come back to that one. How do we measure the benefits of the internal audit program? Okay, that's a good one. Let me think about that. Measure the benefits. Look, I think more than anything, the benefit of an internal audit program is the learning experience of the person doing the assessment, and then the learning experience of the person being assessed. So the peer review process. So while we get the benefit of someone looking at opportunities for improvement, probably as the organization starts to delegate and elevate and have more engagement in your team engagement would be one way to measure. So you're starting to measure, engagement of people working together, looking for opportunities for improvement and holding each other accountable to that task of how are you tracking, what are you doing, are you sticking to process, are you staying on your position? And I think that's one of the benefits. The learning benefit, so specifically asking people who do a review, what did you learn, and measuring that learning outcome. And I know that it's about looking for opportunities for improvement, but the small step that happens before that is you learn a lot. And I can only say that the credit of the success of best practice comes from the learning experience that I've had going and getting to see in-depth thousands of businesses and doing thousands of assessments, and then starting to say, okay, well, I'm going to implement that, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try that. And I don't do that so much nowadays. I get a lot of my experience, the things I'm implementing now, best practice I'm looking at from, mentors in books. But certainly measurement would be, you could track performance. You say, so a great, probably the best way to measure customer satisfaction from a quality perspective and a quality system right now is Net Promoter Score. And just asking, how likely are you to refer us to a friend or family or customer? And internal audits and identifying opportunities for improvement, building a list, prioritizing, saying that's a shit idea, this is a good idea, shit, good, and then right, we've got 5 good ideas. Yes, we can implement some of those because we've got budget. Then you're going to see an improvement to your Net Promoter Score. You're going to see an improvement to your safety performance. And internal audit's not going to be the only thing that improves your performance, but certainly measuring learning outcomes, measuring team engagement, and then starting to measure improvements to the external KPIs of your organisation. Okay, what if they want you just to tell them what to do? They don't want to think. Okay. Sly Fox, could you just elaborate on your question for me? What if they want you just to tell them what to do? They don't want to think about it. Okay, so like the auditor tells them what to do. Look, that's a tricky one. This is a really good question about soft skills and the soft skills of influence. I guess I've worked pretty hard in the last couple of years around, I've obviously done lots of assessments, and one thing that I'm trying to be is like, I really want to help you guys, and I'm trying to do that at scale. How can I be more influential and more effective in this type of medium with you guys? Like, how can I actually, help you remotely all around the world with these types of assessments? And so the question there is, okay, well, how could you be more influential? It may be that you need to spend a little bit more time building rapport with that person or change the environment with that person. So, okay, so we want to, if they're just sitting at their desk and they're like, just tell me what I need to do, then maybe take them out of that environment and say, what are you passionate about? What are your goals here? And it becomes a bit more of a mentoring exercise. And I know you need to achieve an internal audit outcome, but the more rapport you can build with someone, the more you can maybe get them to like you, then the more they're going to say, well, look, my objective here is to help you see if there's any opportunities for improvement. help to make your life easier, your work easier. I'll come to your question in a second. It's just popped up. Your life easier, your work easier, your process improvement. We want to build a sustainable organisation. We're passionate about that. Now, if you're getting negative attitude, then maybe that person just doesn't belong in the organisation. That's a whole nother conversation about, right person, right seat in the organisation. So what are we saying? In the US, they just want it fixed, but they don't want to fix it themselves. I agree. Look, that becomes, there's a lot of people out there, they just want it to be fixed, they don't want to fix it themselves. And look, there is a principle. There's a great book available called Traction by Gino Wickman that talks about managing that scenario. So does the person in that role get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it? If they get it and they want it, then they will participate in improvement. But if they don't get it and they don't want it and they're the wrong person in the wrong seat, that's something for your human resources department to performance manage that person. Find an A player. A players want to improve. Jack's an A player. He's always coming to me. We're always spitballing, how can we improve? What can we do? I want to improve. I drove another one of our team home. I dropped them home. We were at a meeting together and I drove them from the meeting home yesterday. He's like, how can I improve? Give me the advice. Tell me what I can do to improve. And that's the difference between an A player and a C player. A, B, C. And so, I get that when you're doing an internal audit that, there's going to be people that are going to be like that. So I specifically call practice assessments, best practice assessments, or a peer review, and it's an improvement review. It's an opportunity for improvement review. So you might be able to do one thing on your side, which is start with changing the name. Like I get, we call these internal audits, but from my perspective, let's try, I've got to call them internal audits so you know what I'm talking about. But in your business, let's change the name. Ban the word audit, because it's got negative connotations, it's old, people don't like it, they think they're being tested, they think there's a negative outcome, they're going to get fired. Let's call it what it is. It's an opportunity for improvement review. And my team of best practice assessors here, when they're doing an ISO audit, an ISO assessment, they know when you say, this is our process, that we review our system to identify opportunities for improvement, they'll know you're following the intent of the standard. So Sly Fox, I think my piece of advice there for you, the best thing to have a think about is what you're calling your process of doing internal audits the right name? Are you setting the right objectives? And are you getting engagement? And that starts with being an interesting person who's got great things to talk about yourself and working, good stories to share on yourself that are different from everybody else because they will be like, oh, you're an interesting person. So for those of us, as one of my tips, I guess, and I'll get to this stuff in a second. But one of my tips there is how to be an interesting person. You can engineer that, and so even if you do the same things as everybody else, talking, if you think about, well, who would be the best person to have dinner with? You're going to say, well, someone interesting. Okay, well, what makes them interesting? They talk about things that are different to what you talk about. So I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. I'll just get through this last slide for you, and then I'll come back to that. But it's certainly something that that is definitely, I'll come to that question too, Jack, in a second. So it's certainly something to consider, is that it is really important to be an interesting person, and we might cover that, because then people are going to go, oh, I'm really excited to spend time with you. And so we want to say, okay, well, maybe Sly Fox, maybe the first thing to do is just have an informal catch up with that person before you do the assessment. You say, look, really what we want to do is we want to be looking for opportunities for improvement, and that's the brief. And we want to be working on don't worry about the audit, worry about getting good engagement. And then once you've got good engagement, you've got that good foundation, then people will start to enjoy spending time with you, looking at how they can improve. And if it's their idea, if you can extract their ideas and give them some confidence they can implement it, they identify what needs to be fixed, and you can help them with confidence to improve that, then that's going to be the best way to get them. It's their idea, they're going to implement it, they're going to be excited, and they're going to see the benefits. Okay, so obviously, quick summary, 3 things to help. Do them in a team or a partnership. Keep them simple. Ask the questions. Show me. Talk to me about what you think could be improved. Show me what you're doing. Show me how you do it. Show me what you're passionate about, what you enjoy. Show me about what 5-star looks like. What's the 5-star version of this situation? Tell me about what makes you frustrated. Tell me about what's really hard. Tell me about where the mistakes get made. You know, those sorts of things. It's just, you're just extracting it out. You're saying, okay, so what do you think could be improved? Where would you prioritize improvement? So, you know, if those questions are the types of questions you think, yeah, I want to ask those questions, timestamp, this is being recorded, come back to this moment in the video and press play and rewind on those questions, because those are the questions that we can start to extract the ideas for improvement, get people engaged. Then we can start to say, well, we know some information about other stakeholders, other compliance requirements. What about those things? Are those risks for you? Are you aware of those also? Okay, the 20-minute rule, just as a summary, 20 minutes, sit down and prepare, 20 minutes talking to people, 20 minutes reviewing what you're doing. You can get it done in an hour. Keep it short, keep it simple. An hour goes really, really, really quickly. In fact, I've been talking for 45 minutes already. So literally, we would be already completed talking to people, because we only want to talk to them for 20 minutes. We don't want to impact their time too much initially, because we want to get them on board. If we say, look, I just want 20 minutes of your time, they're going to say, great, I can do that. I can't do a whole day. I can't do a week. I can't do a month, but I can do an hour. And if you said, could I borrow an hour of your time in 2 weeks' time? And I say, yeah, sure, that's no problems. So it's, you know, we want to give people lots of notice, and that's a great way to help them. So then you do more of it, but keep it simple, short snippets of time. If someone's enjoying speaking to you, let it go for an hour. Excuse me. But if you set it for 20 minutes and you set their expectation, you can just say, look, you know, in 2 weeks' time after that, could have another 20 minutes of your time. Then you can get through what you get to. So spending some time with people and giving them confidence to share, that's your soft skill. That's the skill I want you to improve. Then we can get down to the nitty-gritty as we go. Okay. Thank you, Jack. Okay, so where am I up to here? Starting with the end in mind. Okay, so remembering internal audits are the first step in the improvement cycle. And so we're starting to say, well, we want to start with the end in mind. What do we want to do? We want to see improvement. We're here to identify opportunities for improvement, better management of risk, better compliance, you know, better conformance, those sorts of things. And so we start with that. We say, okay, well, that's the brief that we're going to put to our team members we're going to share time with. And we just want to think about that. Once you've got some ideas, once you've captured some notes, how are you going to serve that to the people that you're here to help with improvement, your team members, your managers, your business? So we want to think about that. How are we going to serve it? So when we think about how we're going to serve it, we can think about how we prepare it. And that's probably one of the most important things. Is a lot of people say, oh, I need to have a form, and I need to have a corrective action form and a non-conformance form and all this sort of stuff. And people are like, I don't like getting non-conformance forms, so don't give them to people. It's like, how can we most effectively have people positive about improvement of the organisation? And it could be a simple email, it could be a conversation. When you're getting started and you're a beginner, just keep it really simple, a conversation. I went and had a look, this is what I found. How would you like me to present that to you? What would be the best way for me to give you, my manager, when I'm serving my manager, what's the best way for me to help you? I'm going to summarize my ideas. How would you like that presented? A Google Doc, a document, the audit report form. How do you want that presented? And then that's going to help them, because they're going to say, right, that's going to help me. And so it's an act of service that you're helping them by making their job easy, by giving it to them in the format that they like. Okay, so have we got any more questions? Yes, there's one there. How do you ensure compliance with actions to gaps identified in internal audits, e.g. regular action plans, re-auditing to see improvement? Okay, Samantha, thank you for your question. Look, yes, of course, you can build out a more formal approach. You can have an improvement register, here at Best Practice, external audits become a, very formal process. We send a spreadsheet, we say, here's the item, what are you doing about it? So I think there's the process of, having someone comment, but we want to be very careful we're not making bureaucracy. So we could ask, so we say, we found a gap, it's not compliance, we agree that we must do it that way. So the manager says, yes, of course, that's important, it has to be done that way. So you find a gap, the manager says, yes, it's important to do that step. So then you're going to, then you're going to actually record that as a gap, and you're going to say, well, we want to see improvement. Probably one of the biggest weaknesses with this process is the ability to follow up. So we do, I see lots and lots of internal audits, and they get given to me and they say, here we go, we've done our internal audits. I'm like, yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. I'm only interested in the date that it happened, and you're showing me you went through the thought process. I don't care about what's on paper. That's yours. That's for you. I care, okay, what did you do with that? What did you do about it? Is it important for the business? Does anyone care? Did anyone do anything about it? So, Samantha, I guess, there's a great principle. Never leave a meeting without booking the next meeting. These are friendships. These are relationships. And the nature of a friendship and a relationship with our work colleagues in this situation, we're going to see them again. And so setting an expectation, setting an intention, I'm going to come back and spend some more time with you and see if you're struggling with this. Invariably, when actions don't happen, it's because the demands on that person are too high, the person maybe hasn't got good time management, the business has got competing priorities. And so really saying to the business, is this an important priority? That we fix this, that we solve this? Are resources going to be allocated to it? And it might be there's a person over there really struggling. They are busy, they're flat out. And they don't have time because they've got their other competing objectives and priorities. And so, do we do that on a spreadsheet? Do we do it with and you just say, look, I'm going to come back and I'm going to see you in a week, in a month, and we're going to talk about this and just see how you're going and see if I can give you any more help, guidance and advice, and mentoring maybe. And so, gap analysis really easy on a spreadsheet, but it's about what we're actually going to implement to see improvement. Now, what's the number? Traction, that book Traction that I mentioned talks about everyone's got a number. What's the number that you want to see improved? Is there a KPI that we could actually track? Because, if that person understands, there's a KPI that we want a number, we want the graph to improve. Actually, the graph's here, that's our logo, the performance over time graph here at Best Practice. And that's what we're passionate about, graphs and improvement. So Samantha, if you said, okay, well, what's the graph look like that tracks the improvement, and is that thing that we're doing targeting improvement on that statistic, then we're making some sense of this. I hope that helps. Okay, any other questions? Okay, fantastic. I think we're on time. So let me just quickly talk about bit of extra value, some of the soft skills. So if you've got questions, now's the time to ask. There's the live chat feature on the Best Practice Certification website. So bestpracticecertification.com.au. As soon as you log onto that website, a little window pops up and you can post comments. I've got Rigdon and Vanessa and Caitlin sitting outside here helping me. They can answer questions, comment on the Facebook page, or you can send it to me live right now, a direct message on LinkedIn. So I apologize, photos of my brand new nephew have just come through. Brand new nephew born yesterday. Congratulations to my brother and his wife. But yeah, you can literally live right now or at any time that you're watching this video, send me a direct message on LinkedIn if you have a question. Let me just quickly talk about the soft skills. I did some Google searching and I found a really great blog. I'll see if I can find the link and we'll post it for you. How to be interesting in 10 simple steps. And it's about, doing great activities, reading great books, learning, developing, building new skills, learning how to interact more effectively with people. And then, because internal auditing is a career path and it's a task and it's a process in a business that does need some of those soft skills, relationship skills, starting to understand what's meaningful to the person that you're working with, what their goals are, what their desires are, what are the problems and challenges that they're trying to solve. We've got our outcome, but I have found that if I put my objective on the back burner first and I work with, are there any problems or challenges that you've got right now that I might be able to help you solve? Because if I can help you first, then you might be able to help me identify opportunities for improvement. And it's some of those soft skills that also is, people will say, often I find it really interesting to talk to Kobe because he's always doing crazy stuff. You want to know what I did on the weekend? I went and explored one of the local rivers. It's a saltwater tidal river that's north of Sydney. We found some freshwater waterfalls on the weekend, and I took the kids and we had a great time jumping in and out of the waterfall and in and out of the ocean. Lovely, beautiful, sandy beach. That's what I did on the weekend. Does that sound interesting? Yeah, it does. So doing that sort of stuff and doing that crazy, I take myself out of my comfort zone and I do crazy stuff, and people find that interesting, and then that helps me. That's one of the soft skills that helps me to help you guys, because people like talking to me. I've always got an interesting story to tell. I'm reading an interesting book. I read thousands of books. So if I could encourage you to do some of those sorts of things, then we can start to, you can start to have a better, interrelationship with people. Okay, should you fix things without a root cause first? Yeah, I think that's okay. Look, I think provided we're looking at what the desired outcome is. What's the stakeholders' requirement? The new version of ISO 9001 2015 and the other management system standards really talk about interested party analysis or stakeholder analysis. So provided what you're doing is targeted at improving the circumstances for that interested party, then sure. By the way, if you've got more questions, keep asking them. I've got tons of time. I'm available. Keep asking the questions. So, in terms of, yes, should you fix it without understanding the root cause? Look, if you don't understand the root cause, it could break again. The root cause could be the positive attitude of the team or negative attitude of the team. It could be, things that are unknown, and you could fix it and you could be wasting time and money because it might break again. But look, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a go. If you can't find the root cause, then please try and fix it. We should always, please, be trying to improve all of the time and implementing. And Thomas Edison, he said, I found 1,000 ways to not make, was it the telephone or the light bulb, Jack? I can't remember. But it was like, I just found another way that it doesn't work. So, that is what business does. We find lots of different ways that things don't work, and eventually we find some ways that work and we make success. So, I don't want you to worry about, if it's going to break again, if you haven't found the root cause. If everybody's on board and we want to improve, then please, get leadership's commitment to keep trying, testing and trying and testing and trying. And by and large, there are people in your business that are experimenting every day, and that's the marketing department, because they're A/B testing. They're trying to find new ways to find customers and develop and improve. And so you take those philosophies of the marketing department to the rest of the business, and then just understand the business's risk appetite to making mistakes, and say, we're going to give this a go. The reason we're trying to improve it, to improve something. And I'll say, yeah, let's give it a go. So, late question, Kobe. Do you reference standard numbers as part of the audit? Ryan, I try not to. Unless there's a specific reason for referencing the numbers of the standard, absolutely not. It's just keep it really simple. Like it's about, if you need to do a very specific internal audit against the clauses of the standard, I would ask you why. I hope it's not one of my team asking you to do that. Yes, of course, we want to ensure that you follow the intent of the standard, but that's just you keep that to the side. I wouldn't share the numbers of the standard with people in your business, because they get, they're just like, it's more numbers, it's more stuff to learn. But if you said, look, here's an opportunity for improvement in marketing, it helps us to comply with customers' requirements. So I would list the customer requirements. So that's probably the way to go forward. So, if you can avoid, being too technical, and, look, I'm happy to have, a dinner or a chat or a beer or a coffee with you one day and talk about numbers of the standard, and we can 8.2.2 and 9.1 and 9.4.1, but it's just another language for the rest of your business, and I would try and avoid using it. Use their language, use the language that they like, and you're going to keep them, it's one of the soft skills you want to be focusing on. Sly Fox, how do you get people to move away from writing a lot of tricky tack findings instead of system level gaps? Ticky-tack findings. You know what? It's hard. It's hard to stop people writing ticky-tack findings. There are people here at Best Practice that still write, environmental audit report, I saw cigarette butts on the ground. It's tough. Really, it does come with, how do I do it? I make sure that in the very first instance we talk about why we're here, what we're here to do. It's about identifying opportunities for improvement, to have amazing sustainability for the organisation, to have amazing customer service. So we're going to be focusing on customer service. However, I will, with apprentice internal auditors, if you like, I'll let them write ticky-tack findings, if you like, to get confidence once or twice so that they can get into a groove. I'll let them get started, but then I will push them pretty hard to some of the, let's talk about, how can we improve amazing customer service? How can we focus on customers? How can we do some great things for, how can we do some great things for the market? How can we really solve problems for the business? Ticky-tack findings don't solve challenges for our leaders and managers and supervisors and people doing the work for the customer. And so, with those, with that sort of stuff, we'd really be saying, hang on a minute, what's the big picture here? What are we trying to achieve? What is the the legacy we're going to leave for humanity with this business? People are going to be talking about this business for hundreds of years into the future. What is the great stuff that we're going to do? Let's focus on the big picture, the big problems. The CEO of your organisation or the top leader of your organisation, sometimes they'll be awake at night worrying about cash flow, about profit, about customers, about contracts, projects, lawsuits. And if you can help that person, or if you are that person, you can ask your team to help with those challenges and you can focus on that. I tell you what, when that stuff's under control, life is so much easier. And so I'm speaking from experience. When cash flow's under control and profit's under control and that sort of stuff, so much easier to do the great stuff. And so, maybe that's the place that you start, get a good team working together on big picture issues. So I think, that piece of advice is focus on that big picture. And yes, Ryan, I will definitely come and have a beer with you in Adelaide, hopefully in the next couple of months. That'd be fantastic. Has anybody got any more questions? Okay, I think we are on time. Is that right, Jack? Okay, guys, I just want to do a quick shout out for the Training Academy here at Best Practice. We've got a bunch of great training courses. I'm going to come back to that question. There's another one. There's a bunch of great courses here at Best Practice available on our Training Academy. You can log on to the store online. You can purchase them. They've got great little introductions. I've done a whole bunch of videos for you just to explain the courses. What we do on YouTube just gives you a bit of an insight into what we're doing. If there's something there that you love and you're not quite sure, ask questions. We've got live chat there too, so if you're not quite sure, there's a great internal auditors course, there's a great ISO 9001 course, there's 14001, bunch of great stuff there. And there's a great, we're building the best course that we've ever built is on its way. We're building it next month, finishing off the videos, and that'll be the ultimate masterclass to be, the ultimate ninja in influence and leadership. In helping your organisation. So look out for that course if you're interested. Say yes, you're interested in that masterclass course, because that's what we're building right now. Shooting all the videos in the first week of February. But that's our Training Academy. Absolutely fantastic. LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram and Facebook, all updated every couple of days. If you're a social media person, or even if you're not a social media person, it might be time to have a look at, particularly our YouTube channel. There's over 500 great videos. There's over 1 million unique views. Thank you to all of our audience that are following us on YouTube. Some great stuff there, great comments, and that's what we love doing. So check out the store, bunch of great courses there, and if there's something you're interested in and you've got questions, you're not quite sure yet, go check them out, and then if you've got any questions, please ask. Okay, Sly Fox, another question. ISO moved to process auditing versus element. Any advice on how to get people not to think by clauses anymore? It seems Americans are stuck on clauses. We're all stuck on clauses everywhere in the world. Even my team is stuck on clauses. Look, I think from a process review perspective, just coming back to put yourself in the shoes, that saying, put yourself in someone else's shoes, taking the perspective of the stakeholder and then following, how is that stakeholder, or what is that stakeholder interested in your organisation? That's something to really think about and start to say, okay, well, what is it that we can do to help the situation for that particular stakeholder, and follow that requirement all the way through the business. And that's what I said, what are the 5 parts to the business, and can you do a process review? Go from how does a lead come into the business in marketing? How do the sales team and business development deal with it? How does finance interact with that customer? How does the customer procure or receive the goods and services you do? And how are the people in your organisation? that were part of that process. How will they improve? That's that 5. That's that process approach, and really focusing on the set of circumstances that you want to improve. That concept I've talked about, I'll talk about it again. I ask my team all the time. They'll come in and say, we want to do something. And I'm say, what's the 5-star version of the situation? And we'll say, something's not going well. What's the 5-star version of the situation look like? We had some guys here in the studio this morning checking out our webinar setup. They're one of our, neighbours, if you like, a business across the road. They do HR, they do accounting, that sort of stuff. And look, I keep saying, what's the 5-star version of the situation? How can we improve our webinars? How can we do them better? And that brought us the software that we use. And the green, I'm standing in front of a green screen. I'm not inside Google Slides. And so, lighting and cameras and all that sort of stuff, for us, it's about constant improvement. So your webinars, that I love you guys and I love what I'm doing for you guys and helping you guys, and it's about making it more amazing. So how do we get people to move away from clauses? It's like, let's just work on an amazing service for the customer. Let's work on a safer way to do this. Let's work on environment, and then forget the clauses. The person that's the ISO expert in your business, or even the outsourced ISO expert, let them worry about the numbers and whether the things that you're doing follow the intent. What's the intent? Not what's the number of the standard. What's the intent? What were ISO really wanting as they went through that process? What were ISO wanting? Why did they write that paragraph? Why did they put that part of the guideline down? What were they intending that you do as you go through that? Samantha's got a question. Any tips for government audits for not-for-profits? Knowing the standards across the organisation is essential. I agree. That's a tricky one. So you've got a stakeholder, so you've got might be if you're in Australia, the National Disability Insurance Scheme or one of the government funding bodies. I know they've got very explicit requirements. And look, sometimes it's just building the spreadsheet and starting to say, these are the processes that we have, that we go through to meet that requirement. And it is a different approach, and you've got to do those internal audits. And I know, unfortunately, Samantha, in that not-for-profit sector, there are proper, legit audits. They're boring. They don't do a lot to add any value, but it's a different approach. That they are a regulator. They are wanting to know that you know what the rules are, what the laws are, what the regulations are, and that you're ensuring a baseline level of compliance to prevent all those nasty risks that can happen in your industries, because you're working with people. And so sometimes, unfortunately, it's about going through, going through those steps and saying, look, unfortunately, listing those specific requirements and listing how you go about doing it, and communicating with your team and saying, look, this is the industry we work in. It's heavily regulated, and our regulator is a key part of this organisation, and complying with legal and other requirements is really important. So if you're a person who's passionate about complying with legal and other requirements, this is the place to be. If you're a person that's not passionate about complying with legal and other requirements and find it very frustrating, then the not-for-profit sector is not for you. And so while the work we do with people and helping people in the not-for-profit sector and doing some amazing, beautiful services out there is great, it also has that compliance aspect to it. And so my tip for you is, there is a compliance audit, and then there's the business improvement audit. So are there better, more efficient, nicer ways to comply with the legal and other requirements as you go? Hello, Google review. Okay, perfect. Jack's giving me notes. If you think this has helped you, a Google review, I would be very, very grateful for that. We're trying really, really hard to get the message out to more people around the world, and I would really appreciate your support. If there was someone that you thought about in this webinar and you thought it would be really great if they heard my message, if I spoke to them in this format, please copy the link that we sent you, or the link on the YouTube channel. If you're seeing this after the live event and there's someone you want to share this with, please copy that link and email it to them and say, hey, just watch 2 minutes from 15 minutes to 17 minutes, or 20 minutes to 22 minutes, whatever it might be, just a part of the webinar you thought was really important to share our message. The more people that hear our message, the more businesses that we're going to improve, and best practice is going to be impacting customers and stakeholders and everybody globally, just to improve those amazing situations. Your organisations will be then amazing for your customers. They'll be great places to work. They'll be profitable, efficient and fun. All the great stuff that we love doing here at Best Practice. Kylie, you're very welcome. Masad, thank you very much. Samantha, very much. Sly, very much. Thank you very much. Ryan, everybody there that's commented on the YouTube channel. Please, the questions don't stop here. The answers don't stop here. Lots more videos. Live chat on the Best Practice website. Facebook, you want to talk to me directly, you want to ask me a direct question. Every day I check my LinkedIn messages. It's the best way to message me and talk to me is on my LinkedIn. So at Kobe Simmet is my handle on LinkedIn. And so, are there any more questions? Samantha, you're very, very welcome. No problems at all. If there's no more questions and there's nothing more on live chat, let me just quickly look outside the studio. It doesn't look like it at this stage. Okay, I'm going to call it a wrap. That is an hour and 10 minutes. I've got a couple of meetings to run to, but I'm going to monitor my LinkedIn, all the silly questions. I'm here to help you guys. I'm not going to, it's no sales pitch, just ask the question, I'll give you a great answer like I do in all of this free content. So I'm here to help you guys. Thanks very much. There's another webinar in a month's time. Get your copy to get the webinar dates for the next couple of months. They're available inside the back page of Certified Magazine. Certified Magazine's available in the Training Academy at bestpracticecertification.com.au. Click the training button. You can go into the store there, get your free download. You're already in there, you're registered for the webinar, you're already in there. Click your free download and get a copy of Certified. Lots of great management articles. It's a lovely little beautiful PDF that Lee and I and the rest of the team put that together, so thanks to Lee Dean. Issue 5 of Certified's about to start production. If there's something you want to see in our magazine, let me know. What else have I got to talk about? Jack's saying stop talking, let's finish. Okay, so webinar dates are in Certified. I'll see you next month. If I don't see you next month, I'll certainly see you right here, right in the next video on Best Practice TV. Bye for now.